Hello, welcome back to MidEast In-Depth, part of Le Monde TV's Press Reviews. Today we will be looking at the rising crisis between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Kirsten Nipp writes in the German Deutsche Welle a piece titled "The Israeli Government is Tying Its Hands." The writer says following the murder of 3 Israeli youth in the West Bank, Israeli activist Shir Hever has accused Prime Minister Netanyahu of politically exploiting the crime to tarnish Palestine's image. The piece is based on an interview with Shir Hever, an economist and Israeli activist who specializes mainly in the economic aspects of the Israeli occupation and works for the Alternative Information Center, which is a joint Palestinian-Israeli organization. Hever was asked why has Israel rejected the Palestinian Unity government. He said this is a very old Israeli strategy of divide and conquer. The situation in Gaza, where the Palestinians are basically being kept in prison, where even the amount of food they can eat is controlled by the Israeli government on a daily basis, there is always a threat to the people in the West Bank that if they will not obey the Israeli occupation and behave themselves under Israeli domination, their situation could be like that of Gaza. And when the Deutsche Welle asked about the recent Israeli action and if there are any differences to past operations, the activist argues the Israeli government has always been willing to use violence against Palestinians and threats and incitement, like what Netanyahu is doing with Hamas, accusing them of something without any evidence. But now it has been getting worse because the government is really escalating the level of incitement and the level of violence to the point where it could get out of control. Con Colin is an expert on international terrorism and the Middle East. He writes an analytical piece in The Telegraph on the situation in Israel and the Palestinian Authority. The article titled "Mahmoud Abbas must choose between Hamas and peace" starts by saying, whatever action Israel takes against Hamas in retaliation for the cold-blooded murder of 3 Israeli teenagers, the militant Islamist movement will only have itself to blame if there is a full-scale resumption of hostilities. Meanwhile, the official leadership of Hamas continues to deny any involvement in the abduction and murder of the 3 young Israelis. Israel's Shin Bet Internal Security Service has already named 2 Hamas militants from the West Bank town of Hebron. The writer criticizes, saying John Kerry, the energetic US Secretary of State, struggled to make an impact, not least because President Obama has been reluctant to commit much political capital to a process many of his advisors believed was doomed to failure. Nor did Mr. Kerry help his own efforts by claiming that Israel might face an economic boycott if it failed to reach an accord with the Palestinians. And while Washington struggled to convince the Israelis, its dealings with the Palestinians have proved even more problematic. Mr. Abbas's real objective has been to harness the Palestinian cause to the wave of popular uprisings that has been sweeping the Arab world. If protesters can overthrow tyrannical regimes in countries such as Egypt and Tunisia, he believes then surely the Palestinians must soon be able to rid themselves of their Israeli oppressors. That was it for today's in-depth analysis. For more updates, please visit our website on lemonde.tv. Thanks for watching MidEast In-Depth, and bye for now.